Thank you so much for coming down and being here. It's so wonderful to see so many of your faces here today, some of you interpreters that perhaps have only heard our voices, social workers, etc., so it's really nice to sort of put a name to the face. And I mean, we're gathered here to celebrate a really incredible milestone, 25 years. Yeah. Before we start, I'd also like to say thank you to our amazing office staff who have been pivotal to putting this all on together. They are dotted around today. There's also some DRI members, Diversity Resource International. They're also here, so make sure you say hello. But yeah, today is about honouring 25 years, honouring the past, celebrating the present, and looking forward to the future as well. We will have a chance to hear from, of course, our founder and director. We will have a chance to hear from some important partners over the years as well. We will enjoy some poetry. I will give it my best go to figure out how to do bingo at some point as well. We will also have a quiz. But to start us off, we'll be looking at a video that I think helps us understand the sort of history of Vandu and what's gone on over these 25 years. So if we dim the lights, I'll stop blabbering on. Okay. I want to thank everyone who's part of that video. Chi-Ling, Anna, all of you. But I think importantly, I'd like to thank Amanda who edited, videoed, all, and sort of took it from the ground up. So a round of applause for Amanda, please. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to introduce the founder, director, and my mother, Rebecca Vivaldi.
To say thank you for everyone who made it to come here to celebrate his 25 years, a very important milestone. And a special thank you to all the interpreters who traveled from everywhere, and also the office staff who supporting those interpreters to be at the right place on time. So thank you very much. We made it 25 years. So thank you. But what I want to talk today is about what is behind all this. And I want to talk, we always say community, community, community. But I want to say, in particular to you, the Lewes here, I didn't make it on my own. And I want to tell you the secret. Because no one could do anything like this on their own. There is something called the power of one act. And I have so many of those. And those who support and help, they might not know how far their help might go, what impact might make. But everyone who helped me helped all of us. I give you one example, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass some people here. When I didn't know anything about tender and beads and all that, in 2004, as I said in the video, East Sussex didn't have its own local interpreting agency, so interpreters would get called from London, from Brighton, from very far area. And when I came up with this interpreting service for East Sussex to start with, East Sussex, and I have the same West Sussex asylum team, started from day one. All of a sudden, East Sussex wanted to make it formal, so they put it in tender. I'm not sure even if I'd heard the word of tender before that. So, thank you for the dictionary and the Google. I have to understand what tender mean, and I knew what kind of job is coming. I didn't know whether I would win it or not, because competition is competition. But I have friends, communities around me, and Professor Asghar is here with us. I didn't know he was the vice chair of Sussex University, but I do exercise with him once a week with the whole group. So we sit, we sit next to each other, and I'm good at sharing. I'm sharing my problems and my challenges. And I said, you know what, I'm writing this and I don't know what I'm doing. So he said to me, when you finish, we'll invite some people, come to my house, and we'll see what you've done and we'll give you feedback. So I went to ask Darian Sherry's house with my marriage stick presentation. And Abraham, another solicitor in Brighton, Professor Asghar Sherry, watched me doing the presentation. And a day after, I have pages of feedback. Say you could do this, you could say this instead of this. Every detail start, feedback. And I did it. And I become, Vandu, or at that time South Interpreting, become a preferred supplier for East Sussex County Council. That's where it started. Probably Professor Asghar was thinking he's helping me. But I want to say these are the people that he helped far beyond me, my children, and my family. He helped a huge amount of communities, but also the public sector, the sector that we love, the NHS that we love, with ethos and histories. The NHS provides service at a point of need for anyone who needs it. And what David was saying, people from displacement, from war, conflict, which all of us, most of us here, probably about 80% of this room, we are displaced and settled in this country. So we supported this, and that's what I call the power of one act. That one act starts something. Things like that. And there are enablers, enablers that enable you to do things. I could mention Sally and Tom, who would write, and read all the very detailed tender documents to correct my English. These are members of the community, these are neighbors. So they enable you to do things. You just need to be humble, open, and to say, I don't know how I do this. I need your help. People are very keen to help, and that is my secret. But also you need mentorship. People who could be very happy to share with you the journey that they've been through. I call Dr. Ya my mentor. But so many others as well that, I don't have the time to list all of them because there's too many. So I don't look into those, they say, oh, I don't think you do this, I don't think your English is good enough for that. They're very few. And you just say, oh, poor you, and then you just have to pass. There are people we could do because they want to act in kindness, not knowing how much impact their act would make. There are people enable you to do by, shaping your idea. Do you mean this? Do you mean that? And there are people mentors you. And last, what I want to say is, the words of collaboration and partnership are not just a buzzword or a fashionable word if you use them properly. If you really use from honesty to work with the public sector, the service sector, with individuals in partnership and collaboration, in fact, it's more enjoyable. I can give you a case study on this. When I came up with an idea for East Sussex public sector, the primary care trust, the children's services, the adult social care, look, we need to train local interpreters here. We can't call interpreters from London because it's costing a lot of public fund. At the beginning, people say, what is she talking about? But once you sit on the table and you show them the figure, this is how much you pay for an interpreter to travel from London. And this is how much you pay for an interpreter based in Hastings, Eastwood, Brighton, or Woolwich. Do you want to support me to research who is the linguist that we have? Or do you want to keep paying this amount of money because we need language support? So once you have this discussion, the collaboration and partnership grows, and it becomes, rather than, the rule. I'm not saying, we break the rule, but people become flexible. People see the advantage, the impact. But you need to sit on the table. You need to discuss, and you need to be prepared with facts and figures. So we have developed so many collaborative work, although interpreting and translation is formally contracted and formally evaluated. But we do a lot of community work just by developing this partnership work with so many departments of health and social care. So don't be afraid to collaborate with individuals, with small organizations, big organizations, so long the impact is for the common good. So long you take people, fly with you, or you lift people with you, and the advantage is shared. So, and that's what we want to share. I'm not going to go, okay, what Vandu is doing. I think probably the playground is more to the younger generation now. But this is what I did. I have been very fortunate to have community support, professional support from many people that are here. Tove is here. We've done a lot of training, development review in leadership and management. Many, work with Dr. Ya. Chris is here. She would just go and correct my English. I don't think this is how we say it. So be open, and make sure that when you ask for help, say, I don't know. There is no need for pretending if you are going, if you want to go far. So I didn't do it on my own. This is what I did, but the actual work is done by yourselves here. By the interpreters, translators, bilingual advocates. So together, me trying to win the tender in the contract, and you going in a cold, in a hot, in a snowy, to reach that department in the hospital, whether it's Conquest or St. Richard. We did it together. And I just want to say to you, these 25 years, you'll have another 25 years. For sure, the value of the last 25 years is not going to be the same as today. It would be different. The ethos, the principles would remain. And I will make sure it would remain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. And, I'm grateful for Rebecca for many reasons, of course. But for talking about the history of Vandu, I am here to sort of look towards the future, I suppose. It's a really exciting time for Vandu, for new directions, as we brought on a commitment to serving these communities that we keep talking about. And I think our key focus moving forward is equality, diversity and inclusion training, EDI. This service has been born out of the need we've seen time and time again in our work, and perhaps now more so than ever. We only have to think back to the recent far-right riots a few months ago to consider the wider impacts, but it also sort of provides examples of more subtle challenges as well. In one of my recent anti-racism sessions, I had a young Nigerian new social worker telling me he was ordered to stay at home due to potential danger for the protests and the counter-protests. And he was talking to me about it, and he said, it's all well and good, I know they were looking out for me, but ultimately they took away my agency in that situation. And I think it's really important to sort of be aware of, that's the sort of challenge that we're facing as well. We can talk about the wider context, we can talk about Trump in America and, the sort of progress we'll be using there in terms of EDI, but it's also these subtle challenges that, local councils, as great as they are in many ways in terms of tackling anti-racism, there are still a lot of things that need discussion and need law for. So that's the idea with the equality, diversity and inclusion training. We're equipping organizations to create environments where everyone, regardless of their background, regardless of their sort of creed, color, feel valued. And we have trainers who are experts in those fields such as gender, sexuality, disability, and it's worth noting that within that umbrella term of EDI, we are providing generative AI training, and we also have social worker training, which is provided by our friends over here, and David. Yes, that's right. So beyond that, we're envisioning Vandu as a more holistic provider of support for the ethnically diverse communities, where it's about helping people in practical ways where they're navigating their new surroundings, adjusting to new lives and becoming part of local communities as well. And, I'm imagining a future for Vandu where not only are we helping young asylum seekers translate documents, we're also providing them safe spaces, safe places to live, resource material for mental well-being, finding the local communities and guidance for, finding themselves meaningful work as well. That's the direction I think Vandu can be working towards. And it's a direction I think is passionate about, and it rings true with everything we've seen over these 25 years as well, in the videos that we've seen, and what you just heard in the Brax as well. Our team play a huge role in this direction. I'm so proud to say that we have a young, diverse, deeply dedicated group of young professionals who bring great energy and enthusiasm to work every day. I'm very grateful for them. They reflect the communities that we serve, and I think that's another important thing as well. I also want to thank our linguists, who are at the heart of what we do. They are not only language experts, but they are also cultural ambassadors who ensure the individuals and their families, no matter where they come from, feel heard and understood. They are also ambassadors for Vandu. They represent this organization, much more so than the office staff that you may speak to. And they also represent our values as well. Each and every one of them plays an integral role in helping us deliver our services, and their work continues to be one of Vandu's great strengths. So going forward, Vandu's future is about more than just words and translations, I think. It's about connections, it's about supporting communities, and driving meaningful change. We're honored to be on this journey with you and look forward to this road ahead, and I'm very thankful for all of you being part of the story so far. There's one last thing I'd like to do, and this is Mubarak's idea, but she sat down now, so I'm going to take the credit for it. Okay, so if we can have our office staff, old and new, stand up please for me. Larissa, get off your phone for me, stand up, go on. Alejandro, who else we have here? Gay, Sally, you're in the back, stand up for me. Rob, come on, I can see you there, stand up, don't look around, okay? And then our interpreters who are here with us as well today, can you stand up for us? Come on, I can see you, Gabriella, stand up. Wow, there's quite a lot of you, isn't there? I'd like us all to give a round of applause very well, Sally. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. So now we have an amazing performance. I'm very grateful to have her here today. We have an award-winning poet with us today, Grace Nichols, who's been a great friend of Mubrak for a very long time. She got 2 poems that she performed for us today. I'm going to hand the microphone to her. It may make those awful noises, so forgive me if it does.
It's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon and to make a small poetic contribution in celebration of Vandu's 25th anniversary and the amazing woman behind it. And well, Mubrak has always been a source of inspiration for me. I wouldn't go into too much detail now because you've heard a lot of people speaking about Vandu. And also, I also like to, say something about our 2 sons whom I seen growing up and who have developed into 2, well-balanced, articulate, socially conscious, young men. And, I'm very proud of them. And I'm sure Mubrak too, they're a credit to her. I'll read 2 poems. This poem is you're hearing it for the first time. I wrote this poem a few months ago when I was in Toronto with my younger daughter who lives there. And downtown Toronto, which is very close to Lake Ontario, there are heaps of skyscrapers, 70 and 75 stories high. And she had to move, so she was looking for a new flat. And I was helping her. And every flat we saw, I kept saying no. No Calera, no Her Davis Calera. One was on the 60th floor, another on the 54th, one on the 28th. And I kept saying no, no. And she was really getting mad. I was saying, oh, well, I'm the one who has to live here, not you. And eventually, we found a beautiful flat, and she was so glad that she waited. It was on the 10th floor. So I said, okay, the 10th floor, yeah, okay, I can deal with that. I can deal with the 10th floor. But about a month ago, there was a flash flood in Toronto, and the firm that she works with, the basement was flooded and the lifts weren't working. So she was on the 22nd floor and she had to come down those stairs. And at the end of it, she said her thighs were aching. And I think she got the point why I insisted on the 10th floor.
I would now like to invite Barbara Harris to the stage. I asked Mubrak about Barbara, and she told me that she was an excellent listener, someone who always ready for collaboration, and rather than competition. Ultimately, she said she's been a great friend for Vandu over the years, and so please give a round of applause for Barbara Harris.
Hello everyone, can you hear me okay? Yes. Thank you. It's my pleasure to play a small part in these 25 years celebrating Vandu. If you'd asked me when I first met with Mubrak 17 years ago, whether we would have had the long-established working relationship that we came to have, and equally but more importantly, the friendship that came out of it, I wouldn't have necessarily have believed you. I started in a very junior role in inclusion at Brighton and Sussex University Hospital, which has subsequently become University Hospitals Sussex, in 2007, in the February. In the March of that year, I got called to meet my chairman, who had received a letter from Mubrak offering the services of what was then South East Interpreting Service, and highlighting that perhaps there wasn't the fairness and the service to our patients that there should be. And I was asked to, go off and deal with it and see whether or not there was something that we should be doing. And in my naivety, I said, well, we've got services in Brighton. I think, they're meeting the needs of our patients. And Mabrak said, really? Are they? And proceeded to tell me about the services of her organisation, but also to remind me that we had a hospital in Hayward Heath, Princess Royal, that perhaps we weren't meeting the needs of our patients there. So after several conversations with Mabrak and then finally meeting with her, she came up with a proposal that she would provide services for our patients in Princess Royal. She would enable our staff to get training from her interpreters so that they better knew how to work with and engage with our patients with other languages, and to sort of give her a trial, see how that worked. Well, needless to say, it worked really well. Our staff at Princess Royal were absolutely, yes, we have to have this service. So I went off and did the work to ensure that that happened. And so what was supposed to happen was that our services at Princess Royal in Hayward Heath would use Vandu Language services, and the other provider would provide services in Brighton. Didn't quite work out like that, because the name of Vandu and the service that they provided, and People Talk, and our staff worked across organisations, or across hospitals. People in Brighton started phoning Vandu services, language services, wanting their service, wanting that continuity of provision for the patients that we had. And so, with Mabrak's favourite word, differing tenders that took place over the 17 years that I worked with Mabrak, we were able to ensure that patients both in Brighton and in Hayward Heath got the same level of service provision that our patients at Hayward Heath had initially. Working with Vandu was always a pleasure. Not only did they provide the services that we booked, often at short notice, but often if we were let down by other agencies, and it really was a matter of we need someone within the next half an hour or within the next hour. It was very, very rarely in those 17 years that Vandu could not provide someone for us. Always trying to source someone locally and being mindful of the budgets that we had, but equally being mindful of the service provision that we wanted to ensure that our patients had. But it's not just Mabrak. It is, as has been highlighted here, the people that if I was phoning up, always with I would say with a smile, but you can't always see, but you can tell by the intonation of people's voices, always professional, always getting back when they said they would, and always providing that level of care that we would wish for our patients. But also, and I don't wish to embarrass Mabrak, but I'm going to anyway, I can remember times when we were due to have a catch-up meeting, and perhaps you might call to say, could we make it a little bit later? Or she'd turn up, and I, by then, had become friends, and said, you're looking a little bit tired. Oh yes, I was on your maternity ward for about 4 or 5 hours last night, ensuring that a service was given to your patients. How many other managing directors in companies provide that level of service to their organisation? I don't know many. I'm really proud of the work that this organisation has done in ensuring that the patients that came through what was previously Brighton and Sussex University Hospitals, latterly University Hospital Sussex, the provision of care that they provide. And I saw a colleague outside, and they were saying that always when they contact this organisation, it's yes, when do you need us? Absolutely, a really can-do attitude to providing that level of care. So on behalf of myself and previous people that I've worked with, on behalf of any of the patients that I have supported to have a understanding of the care that they're going to have, to be able to make informed decisions in a language format that they understand. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Barbara. Or Babs, as I hear she's likes to be referred to. Okay, so next we have Kaveri. Kaveri, I'm very thankful for you to be here, Kaveri. Kaveri is here representing East Sussex County Council. Now, East Sussex are, as you may have gathered, one of our longest serving customers, and we're crucial in supporting bank donor services, so I'm so happy to have someone here representing this afternoon. Okay, let's give another hand for Gabri.
Before I do the council speak, which I will do in a moment, I just wanted to say, when I first met Mebra, I came to Lewes about 6 years ago, and I met her in the street, I think, in Lewes. I live in Lewes as well. And she said, "Oh, who are you?" Because, there are only 2, 3, 4, 5 black people in Lewes. And so we know each other, we give the nods. And I said, "Well, I work for the council." "You really, do you?" And, the next week she was there in the council, waving and saying, "We are here." But, very sort of, "I'm your friend, I'm your mentor, I'm here, I've set up this business." The confidence I got from having met Mebrak, having seen how she's grown, how she's set up a business, and how she's supported similar ethos that I came from. I'm an equality and human rights lawyer, and seeing that develop to me as a black woman, I think was just so empowering to see that I've really progressed and learned a lot from her and the work of other black women as well in the county. So I just wanted to, I don't know where she is, I just wanted to thank Mebrak again to acknowledge your contribution to my career, my journey, and the work of the East Sussex County Council. So thank you from me. What I want to do just really is, I don't know whether the slides can move, Amanda. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think what I wanted to just give you a little bit of an overview of is the statistics and data around migrant population in East Sussex and how we use in translation and interpretation services, hopefully to give you a little bit of an idea, which is all based on data. It's also based on information you receive from all of you as linguists, from Vandu as a company, but also from our communities. So if we move on, you'll see from our the population data, which is from the John's Strategic Needs Assessment, the residents as in 2022, just over 500,000 people in East Sussex, more females than males. Again, no surprise there, 3.3% identifying as LGBT plus, which has been increasing in East Sussex. And if you think about people living in urban and rural areas, there's been we are a real rural county with just under 3/4 living in urban areas and a huge population still living in rural areas. And in terms of migration, this is a really interesting flow of people coming into the county and people leaving the county as well. So there is where you'll see a lot more in some counties, people coming in and going out less. The population doesn't extrapolate in the same way in Sussex. If we move to the next bit, you can see the ethnicity here and the languages. So we'll come to the languages in a moment, but thinking about the ethnicity, what was really interesting about the 2021 census was looking at how our population of ethnic minority population really grew. It's people like me migrating from different parts of the country, but also people who are coming from outside the country into East Sussex. So there's a real shift between who we were up until 2011 census and who we are now, and how rapidly that's changing in terms of the face of the county as well. Well, the languages, which is something I think will interest a lot of you as linguists and people working with ethnic minority backgrounds. Some languages have formal languages, as in i.e. other than English, have changed dramatically in terms of who we are as a county. Now, in terms of the European languages, I think sometimes we can see that people speaking French, Spanish, Italian, German may have the English language skills as well because they may have been taught. It's the other languages which suddenly have been shifting. So the shifts, the left to the right, you can see there are some languages that have stayed quite consistently over the last 20 years, but in the last 10 years or so, the shift has been quite dramatic. The one that's not reflected here, because this is a 2021 census, is the Ukrainian language, because we have, as you'll know, since the war in Ukrainian population come in here. And that's been a really, really plus for us as a community, bringing in richness from various backgrounds. But what we've needed to do as a council is to support people from different backgrounds to be able to access support and care from the council. And that's where our partners who provide the migrant support come in. I wanted to talk to you, if we can move to the next slide, a little bit about things that you already know. Why do we need translation and interpretation services, and the kind of pressures that migrants and refugees face, not just in East Sussex, really, but everywhere else. The real issues around access to healthcare, the issues around language barriers, the nutrition and lifestyle. We know the disproportionate impact on people from ethnic minority backgrounds of the health inequalities, and how not being able to use the right level of services means that their health deteriorates, the care options they get are not always the same. So bringing people to the right level means that they are able to actually provide the interpretation and translation services which all of you as linguists provide. Now, while we do that, if we can move to the next slide, is the Equality Act, and it's a legislation to be talked about and to be mentioned. But more than that, I think it's a moral obligation on all of us to make sure that we provide the right level of service, that we are able to provide equitable services to everybody, irrespective of their backgrounds. So we do recognize, and we do have those public sector equality duties to provide everything irrespective of people's protected characteristics. But in addition to the Equality Act, some of the other levers of change for us, or to deliver services appropriately, is around safeguarding vulnerable adults and children, education for any child living in the county, social care, public health, and community safety. And so for each one of these things, we've historically used Vandu and other providers for translation and interpretation. Lots of this has changed a little bit in the last few years. It includes services provided to unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, as well as those displaced in East Sussex by the Home Office and other agencies who might need migrant-related support. There are, Amanda, if we can move to the next slide, and there are other additional activities and roles that East Sussex County Council fulfills, but those provided by other partners as well. That includes the Home Office support. I talked about the displaced migrants, but also the district and borough councils who hold the statutory housing responsibilities, but we work closely with them to prevent homelessness. Our voluntary and community sector organizations who provide vital support to communities, and we support them, enable them, and make sure that they're able to access those services. And of course, our health partners who also provide those strategic support. So it's really important, Amanda, if you can move to the next slide, please, that our partnership working with all of you as linguists, with Vandu as an organization, with our other translation and interpretation providers, we have received a huge amount of support over the last 20 plus years from all of you here, from Vandu and other partners, and we hope that we will continue to work with you to make sure that the right level of services are provided to our community. And we continue to learn from all of you, the work you do, the challenge to us, the constant check back in, as well as the information we receive from all of you who work on the ground to be able to understand, for us to understand how better to serve our communities. Finally, I just wanted to say a big thank you. Thank you to Mebrock for starting this journey for all of us. And thank you to Aaron and DRI team and Vandu team to making sure that we are here. Thank you to our linguists, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Another round of applause for Kabiri, please. Okay, so now we have our final speaker of the evening. Ash Scarf is here on behalf of the NHS. I'll let him introduce himself and his full title. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the NHS has been an important partner as East Sussex House for many years now, and with East Sussex, they were big contributors to the bilingual advocacy training back in 2010. They were part of the funding for it, and as we all know now, bilingual advocacy is one of our key services as an organisation. So, it's a pleasure to have you here, Ash. Thank you very much for... Round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that introduction. Hopefully you can hear me all okay with the microphone. I'm Ash Scarf. I'm the Director of Joint Commissioning for NHS Sussex, doing joint commissioning and integrated community team development for East Sussex. I would have that down on a name badge, but we don't have one big enough yet. It's a fantastic privilege to be here, and it's great to be part of celebrations marking 25 years with Vandu. It's a real privilege to come and talk to you, and also to tell you a little bit about how the NHS is changing. Sometimes it feels like the NHS is constantly changing, but strangely it always seems a little bit familiar. And we're not just about the hospitals and GPs. It is absolutely about health and well-being, and the importance. I want to talk about the importance of communication in its role in healthcare, which is fundamentally what you are all about. It's been an inspiring afternoon. I've heard some fantastic talks and seen some great videos. I've heard really important words like care and respect. Clearly what I would want to add to that, what I've seen is words like compassion and commitment, and that's really inspiring. That's great. Just a little bit about me and NHS Sussex. So I'm a director. I've worked in the health service for over 30 years, and have covered all aspects from very specialist hospital-based services through to working with voluntary sector, social care services and other partners on what for the wider determinants of health. I spent many years working on developing hospitals and very specialist areas, but actually what fundamentally matters is trying to help people stay well to start with. And so my role very much now is almost outward facing, so it's less about the actual NHS provision of services. It's more about how do those services make sense for our local populations, working together, identifying need and being responsive to that, both healthcare, social care, voluntary groups, community groups and so on. And it's a great opportunity, and it is a really important area that we need to go forward with. NHS Sussex itself is technically an integrated care board. 25 years ago, I think we were in the territory of health authorities, probably local health authorities that became strategic health authorities and then clinical commissioning groups. These might be terms some of you will be familiar with, others have not any idea what I'm talking about. But it's all the different incarnations that we've had, which are the commissioning bodies for the NHS money that we had. In Sussex every year, the NHS spends just over £4 billion a year on supporting the health and well-being of 1.7 million people. We've seen the figures for East Sussex, that we're part of that. For in Sussex, so it's really significant investment. But even that is just part of the story. So when we talk about the whole health economy, and it is about local government, carers, all of those things that make a difference to people's health and well-being. It's huge. Why do we think it's changing? I'm sure people will have seen it's rarely off the news. Pressures on the health service, pressures on people's well-being. It's very much a legacy of the pandemic. It might seem like the pandemic is a bit old news sometimes. It feels like another world at times, but actually, it's not that long ago. We've never imagined all of us sitting in a room like this together. Finding how times change. Great how times can change. But we're still living with the legacy of that. We've got waiting times that are too long, whether that's in emergency departments, whether it's people waiting for operation, some children's services, mental health services, and so on. So we've got to do something about that. The NHS has been quite fortunate in terms of funding at the national level. We've not had some of the financial pressures that other government departments and other sections have had. Nonetheless, the demand on services has outstripped that supply for year after year after year. So it gets harder and harder, and it feels like, cuts and trying to make the money go further and further. It gets harder all the time. There was a time as an NHS commissioner, we've had lots of money, reserves, and budgets, as it were, that I could look and say, well, okay, what can we do with this? Work with provider and colleagues like yourselves, saying, okay, what can we do that's new, innovative, and clever? We're in a different time now, where the money is essentially all there, it's all committed. So it's more about what are we doing, how can we do things differently, how can we use the resources that we have? It's not easy, it's different, and it's challenging, but that's the way we need to go, and there are some real opportunities in that. As a system, we have, we're looking to move from a very much an entrenched way of working around competition. We've heard talk of tendering and that sort of thing already. There's always an element of that transactional side of using public money, but more importantly, we're looking to move to a place of collaboration. They're really informal watchwords, and how we do the collectively with all spans in the system. Next spring, we expect to see we anticipate the launch of a new 10-year plan from the government. People might have seen the news, the Secretary of State for House 3 watchword, particular phrases we anticipate around moving from analogue to digital services, which is the increased use of the opportunities from that, moving from hospital to community-based services. So I've been involved in building hospitals. There was a time when building more and more hospitals seemed the way to go. Ultimately, it's just not affordable, and it's not the right thing to do for people. And thirdly is the move from illness, treatment of illness or reactive service, to prevention, health prevention, keeping people well. And that's where the local bit comes in. There is a national consultation running to inform the 10-year plan. You'll find it online, so if anybody would like to see that, do please search in Department of Health or through NHS Sussex website. You'll find the links. It's really important, the consultation, so do take that up if you can. To bring it more locally, NHS Sussex and all of our system partners, we have a health and wellbeing strategy called Improving Lives Together, and that recognises some of the immediate challenges we've got. I've mentioned urgent care, planned care, mental health, and discharge, what we call system flow, people being in hospital too long. They're really important areas, so we're determined to do something about and are addressing as soon as we possibly can. Beyond that, there's some more intermediate and longer term programs that we're looking to do. Crucially, it is that transformation upwards, moving from hospital-based services, reactive services, to something more proactive and preventative. And to do that, it's about addressing what we call the wider determinants of health. So people's well-being, and apologies because I'm sure this is stating the obvious to very many of you. Ill health is often rarely to do with physiological disease or conditions. Obviously some aspects of it is, but many of the conditions and situations where people need healthcare is driven by other factors. It's housing, it's income, it's education, it's nutrition, all of those sorts of things. And the NHS can't influence those, can't do those on its own. Which is why it's the importance of working with other system partners, other organisations, other networks to do that. And central to all of that, for us to achieve that, is the ability to communicate with our communities, and that's communicate not just broadcasting. There's always lots of health messages and information, population levels, but it is as important to be listening and truly listening, as we've heard today, and some fantastic examples of that and the importance of that. But then also at the individual level, and the work that we will do at that individual level, at the patient interface, the patient and clinician interface, that is absolutely critical. So I'd like to just pause and say a really huge thank you on behalf of NHS Sussex, NHS colleagues and providers, and ultimately I think for the population of Sussex, a big thank you to all for what you do and how you do it with care, compassion and commitment that you all show. Thank you for that. So looking ahead, a key strategy for us is what we call integrated community teams, also known as NAGO teams. It's in my job title. When I've got the name badge big enough, I've been filling it in. What they are is their groups. It's partners and people involved in health and care in its broadest sense, coming together on a footprint or a geography. There'll actually be 5 of them in East Sussex. They'll map to our district and borough council footprints, so Wealdon, Eastbourne, Rother, etc. And that will bring together all of our NHS providers, social care, key partners in the community, such as yourselves, to really identify what are those local needs, what are the local communities, what's the inequalities that we want and need to address, how can we do those, how can we do those collectively with our collective resource, and it will need some innovation to do that. And by targeting the inequalities, looking for those vulnerable people, and those early opportunities and opportunities to intervene, we've got half a chance of getting it right. On the inequalities front, it's a really key point for us, and it's one of our key responsibilities as a Commissioning Board for NHS Sussex. It is about addressing inequalities, and we know that's not just about geography, it's about communities, it's about age, it's about population profiles, and we want to work with partners that know that. We don't know all. We have lots of data, we have lots of information, but that's not the same thing as understanding communities, so it's really important for us to work with people to really get into that. So I think looking ahead then, like I say, I'd like to congratulate the celebration on 25 years of Vandu. It's great to be part of it. I think the future as we look ahead is challenging. We've got a challenging economic outlook for everyone. I don't think any part of the health and care system is immune to it, and probably any of us in all of our walks of life. And the financial challenges quite acute. The demand for services, finding a way forward is going to be challenging, but there's an absolute commitment to do that in partnership, in collaboration, and genuinely believe there are opportunities if we can support people, if we can find the right mechanisms and ways to get to identify people and support people in the community early on, the better we can look at outcomes and supporting people, and having a system, a health system, when the emergency end of that, that's there, right, available and accessible when people really need that. So to close, really, I think there has been a branch who's come and talked to you. I just wanted to describe that journey where I think we're seeing a real shift in the NHS from the hospital-based, emergency-based reactive system to something that is far more focused on early intervention, community-based proactive care, and listening, the ability to communicate, talk to people, understand our communities, and go further. Like I said earlier today, it's not just words. That communication bit is really, really important to us. And with that, I'd say thank you then. Thank you very much.